Hi everyone, I just have some quick comments based on the discussion for Unit 2. I apologize that it has taken me so long to provide you some feedback for this one. Also, I'm in the Salt Lake City airport waiting to fly back to Albuquerque, so I apologize for the background noise and such. I just wanted to commend you on doing some good work on this discussion. Um, Almost all of you asked very good open-ended questions that were contextualized in the ideas and events and readings that we were working with Unit 2. Many of you asked very good questions about the reasoning behind the Spaniards' actions, why Cabeza de Vaca had such a different relationship with Native people than, say, Coronado or Oñate did. And those are very good things for us to think through and talk about. I also really appreciated the questions about the ancestral Puebloan sites and their culture, in Chaco and at Mesa Verde, and some of the reasons for the abandonment of those sites, how things changed. There was also a good question about the methodologies that we use to think about oral histories. So please go back through the discussion and look at some of the questions that you didn't look at yet. Think about what your responses would be to those questions to gain more insight on this era of New Mexico's history. Also, as you go forward with the discussions, be sure to always include two specific pieces of evidence, whether they're direct quotes or paraphrased ideas from the readings or the videos to support your responses. So remember, as we talked about in Unit 1, with the telling of history, we have to think about how historians are using the evidence, but when we talk about history, we also have to be sure to draw on evidence and make sure that our ideas are founded in whatever kind of evidence that we're using and that is available to us, and also that we've been appropriately critical of that evidence. This idea came up with the use of oral histories. The ways that they can kind of change over time can be problematic depending on what kinds of historical questions we're asking. If we're asking questions about the way culture developed, why Pueblo culture has been so resilient even in the face of 400 years of colonialism, oral histories provide a very excellent lens into thinking about how that culture has survived, how people were able to maintain their own traditions and beliefs even as they were being brutally forced at times to adopt new religious ideas and new methods of political and social organization as well. So that's all I'll say about that. Something that I want to pose here as a question, and if you respond to, I'm going to post this as an announcement and also in the Unit 2 discussion as a new thread. If you respond to this question that I'm about to ask, it's worth up to 25 points extra credit, as long as you draw on two specific examples. I'll say one specific example from the readings or the videos that we're working on. So something that we didn't really talk about in this discussion, but a couple of you touched on, was Joe Sando's piece, Chapter 2 of New Mexican Lives, on Popey and the Pueblo Revolt. And so Sando makes it very clear that he uses oral histories to construct his perspectives on Popey. But something that students often notice is that he tends to use a lot of conjecture. Popey probably said this. The people may have done that. So what did you think of that approach? And why do you think he used that approach? Was it effective for the kinds of sources he was working with and the kind of history and the story he was telling? So respond to that question about what you thought of his presentation there in Chapter 2 for up to 25 points extra credit, and be sure to draw on a specific example from that reading. As we move into Chapter 3, Unit 3, as you already know, because you've been working on it this week and posting tweets, We're going to continue to look at the colonization of New Mexico. We're going to again consider the Pueblo Revolt, some of the problems with telling the story of the Pueblo Revolt. So please give the Van Hastings Garner piece a look. I apologize that it's a kind of rough PDF, but that was the best way I was able to share that with you. But as you read that, think about some of the ways that historians have tried to look at the Pueblo Revolt. Also think about the role of the church in 17th century New Mexico, something that I think maybe didn't come up as much in Unit 2, but will definitely come up here in Unit 3, because the church was a vital force in colonial New Mexico, in whatever period of colonial New Mexico we're looking at. So think about the way that the church influenced relations between different groups of Spaniards and Pueblos, and also think about how church records have influenced the way that historians have written about 17th century New Mexico. I've blabbered on for a little bit longer than I meant to, so I will stop now. Thanks for your hard work, and keep up the good work.